You see us now. We're waiting for you.
The first thing I heard was the bell. Not the cheerful jingle people imagine during Christmas, but a single dull chime, dragged across the frozen air like something being pulled unwillingly through the night. I was halfway through locking the store when it rang. Once, I froze with my hand on the metal shutter. The street was empty. Snow fell lightly, muffling everything. Cars, footsteps, breath. The bell sounded again, closer this time, though nothing moved. I told myself it was wind. Old wiring. Anything ordinary. Then I saw the footprints. They began in the middle of the road. Not coming from anywhere. Not leading away. Just there. Each step pressed deep into the snow, long and uneven, as if the thing that made them struggled to walk upright. They stopped 3 feet from the store window. Right where I stood. The bell rang again, directly behind me. I spun around. Nothing. No reflection. No movement. Just my own face staring back at me from the dark glass, pale and confused. Then the writing appeared. Slowly. Fogged onto the inside of the window, letter by letter, as if an invisible breath pressed against the glass. UC-US now. The bell rang one last time, and the lights in the store went out. The power came back on without warning. The fluorescent lights flickered once, twice, then settled into their usual sickly glow, humming as if nothing had happened. The freezer units restarted. The radio crackled back to life mid-song, some cheerful Christmas tune that felt suddenly obscene. I stood frozen behind the counter, my breath fogging in the cold air. The message on the glass was gone. No words. No fog. No fingerprints. Just my reflection, wide-eyed, pale, breathing too fast. I waited. 30 seconds. A full minute. Nothing moved. I checked the door. Locked. The bell hung still above it, swaying slightly as if it had been touched recently. I told myself that meant something logical. Air pressure. Temperature change. Old hardware. I closed early that night. I didn't count the register properly. I didn't finish cleaning. I just shut the lights, locked the door, and walked into the snow with my shoulders hunched, like the dark itself might reach out and tap me on the back. The footprints were gone too. By morning, the street looked normal again. Snowplows had come through. Cars passed. People waved. The world had decided the night before hadn't mattered. But my body hadn't gotten the message. I noticed it in small ways. The way my eyes kept drifting to reflective surfaces. Windows, mirrors, polished metal. Checking them twice. The way every faint sound made my heart jump. The way silence felt crowded now, like something was holding its breath alongside me. At work, customers complained about the cold. About prices. About how early it got dark this time of year. Normal complaints. But a few lingered longer than they should have. Mrs. Donnelly stared at the glass refrigerator doors behind me instead of my face. Her lips moved silently, like she was counting. "You all right?" I asked. She flinched. "Do you hear that?" "Hear what?" She leaned in close. I smelled peppermint and something sour beneath it. "The humming," she whispered. "Like singing but wrong." I listened. All I heard was the buzz of electricity. She paid in exact change and left without another word. By afternoon, rumors spread the way they always do in a small town. Soft at first, wrapped in jokes, then sharpened by repetition. Someone claimed they saw a man standing in the snow behind the school all night, unmoving. Someone else said their dog barked at the hallway mirror until morning. I told myself it was Christmas nerves. Long nights. Too much sugar. Old grief resurfacing when the year began to close. That explanation almost worked. Almost. Until I found the receipt. It lay on the counter when I came back from the stockroom. Printed, clean, still warm. Time, 12:01 a.m. Item. Remembering price, 0.00. I stared at it until my eyes watered. "Samir." I called. No answer. I checked the cameras. No customers. No movement. Just me, walking in and out of frame, and something else that didn't quite line up. My reflection in the glass cooler doors lagging behind by a fraction of a second, like it needed time to decide what I'd done. That night, I dreamed of bells. Not ringing, dragging, metal scraping against metal, slow and tired, as if whatever held them had been walking for a very long time. I woke just before dawn with a word in my mouth I didn't remember learning. Solstice. The day dragged. Snow thickened. The sky stayed gray and low, pressing down on the town until everything felt smaller, tighter. At sunset, Christmas lights flickered on along the street, their colors muted by the falling snow. That's when the first real sighting happened. A child wandered into the store alone, barefoot despite the cold. Snow didn't cling to her skin. Her eyes reflected too much light. "Where are your parents?" I asked gently. She tilted her head. "They're remembering." My throat tightened. Remembering what? She smiled, not wide, not cruel, just patient. Us. The bell rang. I turned toward the door. When I looked back, the girl was gone. No footsteps. No sound. Just a faint wet mark on the floor, like melted snow or condensation. I locked the door early again. As I pulled down the shutters, a voice whispered from the darkened aisle behind me. "You weren't supposed to notice yet." I didn't turn around. I didn't answer. But in the glass, just for a moment, my reflection lifted its head after I had already stopped moving. And it smiled first. After the girl vanished, the store never felt empty again. Even when I was alone, even when the aisles were still and the refrigerators hummed like obedient machines, there was a sense of occupation, as if the space had been claimed by something that didn't need to move to make itself known. I stopped locking the back room. I don't remember making that decision. One day, the lock was simply unused, the key left hanging on its hook like it had always belonged there. When I noticed, a quiet thought slipped into my mind: what's the point? And the idea felt so reasonable it scared me. The town changed faster after that. Not dramatically. Not all at once. Just wrong. People smiled too long before speaking. Conversations paused in places where words should have been. Neighbors stood outside their houses at night, staring at nothing, as if waiting for someone late. I started seeing them too. Not clearly. Not fully. Shapes at the edges of my vision. Reflections that didn't quite agree with the person standing before them. Faces in the glass that faded the moment I focused. Once, while restocking shelves, I caught my own reflection in the microwave door, except its eyes were already on me before I looked. I smashed the microwave without thinking. The crash echoed too loud. Too final. For a moment, the store went completely silent. No hum. No buzz. No distant traffic. Then the whisper came, not angry, not loud, almost amused. "Careful." I backed away, breathing hard, surrounded by broken glass and the smell of burnt plastic. My hands shook for hours afterward. That night, I went to see Samir. His gas station lights were on, but the pumps were dark. Snow piled high around the building, untouched by tires. I knocked twice before he opened the door. He looked older than he had a week before. His eyes were rimmed red, his beard untrimmed. "You saw something," he said before I spoke. "I think everyone has," I replied. He hesitated, then stepped aside to let me in. He locked the door behind us and pulled the blinds down tight. "They're not sightings," he said quietly. "They're returns." "Returns from where?" Samir swallowed. "From us." He told me what his father had told him and his father before that. Stories passed down quietly, always around this time of year. Always framed as superstition, as metaphor. According to the stories, Christmas wasn't special because of birth or light or miracles. It was special because people looked back. End-of-year reflections. Memories. Regret. Grief. Every time the town paused to remember, something else listened. "They don't come when we forget," Samir said. "They come when we hold on." "To what?" "To them," he whispered. I asked him who they were. He shook his head. "Doesn't matter. Once you name them, they stay longer." The power flickered. Both of us flinched. "You need to leave town," Samir said suddenly. "Tonight." "I can't," I replied. "My mother." His eyes darkened. "They already know that." When I left, I noticed something strange. My footprints didn't line up with my steps. They lagged behind me like reflections in snow. The cemetery sat at the edge of town, half forgotten even before winter buried it. I hadn't planned to go there. My car just turned. Mr. Hale was waiting by the gate, lantern in hand, as if he'd known I was coming. "You saw the child," he said. I nodded. "They start with children," he murmured. "Or the dead. Familiar shapes." He led me past rows of graves, some marked, some not. The oldest ones were nothing but stones, worn smooth by time and weather. "These were here before the church," he said. "Before the town had a name." "What happened to them?" I asked. He raised the lantern. The light revealed carvings in the stone, symbols, shallow and crude, nearly erased. "They were remembered too well," he said. He told me about winters when the town lost entire families. About Christmas mornings where presents went unopened because no one was left to open them. About years when the road out simply vanished under snow that never melted. "They learned to stop talking about it," he said. "Stop telling the stories. Forgetting keeps us safe." "So why now?" I asked. "Why is it happening again?" Mr. Hale looked at me. "Because too many people started looking back. Phones full of old photos. Messages from the dead saved and replayed. Houses filled with decorations meant to summon memory and warmth. They noticed the invitation. As if on cue, the lantern flickered. Something moved between the graves. Slow. Dragging. I heard the bell then, not metal this time but bone against stone. A dry, patient sound. "Run," Mr. Hale whispered. We didn't speak as we fled. Behind us, the snow remained untouched. The disappearances began 2 nights later. No signs of struggle. No blood. No footprints. Just absence. A woman vanished from her living room. Tea still steaming on the table. A man left work and never arrived home. A child's bed was found warm in the morning, the blanket carefully folded back. Police blamed weather, accidents, wanderings. But no one searched very hard, because everyone was busy remembering something else. My mother stopped answering my calls. When I went to her house, the door was unlocked. The lights were on. The television played an old home video on loop. Christmas morning, years ago. She stood in the hallway, facing the wall. "Mom," I said. She turned slowly. Her face was mine. Not exactly. Older. Softer. But wrong. "You always loved this part," she said in my voice. When it felt like nothing bad could happen. I ran. Behind me she laughed softly. Not cruelly, not loudly. Like someone being patient. After that, the whispers stopped pretending to be quiet. They spoke through radios. Through phones. Through reflections. They spoke from behind doors I hadn't opened. "You left us. You remembered us back. Don't pretend you don't want this." The town council dissolved overnight. Half of them simply didn't show up. The others refused to speak about why. Christmas lights stayed on all day and night, flickering in patterns that made my head ache if I stared too long. Snow fell upward some mornings, drifting from the ground into the sky. Time fractured. An hour could stretch into eternity. An entire night could vanish in a blink. And the more people noticed, the worse it became. That was the cruelest part. Awareness fed them. Fear fed them. Memory fed them most of all. I tried to leave town. The road curved back into itself. No matter how long I drove, I passed the same landmarks, the same broken sign, the same abandoned car half buried in snow. In its windshield I saw my reflection. It waved. Christmas Eve arrived without announcement. The bell in my store rang constantly now, even when the door was gone, because at some point the door was gone, replaced by open darkness that smelled like cold earth and old paper. Figures gathered outside. Not attacking. Waiting. They wore familiar shapes, neighbors, friends, family, but none of them blinked. None of them breathed. They whispered my name like it was a promise. I understood then what Mr. Hale meant. They didn't want bodies. They wanted places. Spaces where memory lived. And the more I resisted, the more they showed me what I'd forgotten. Every regret, every unfinished goodbye, every face I'd stopped thinking about because it hurt too much. By the time midnight approached, I wasn't sure which thoughts were mine anymore. The bell rang once. Slow, heavy, and every door in town opened at the same time. Midnight didn't arrive like a moment. It arrived like a condition. The town inhaled and never exhaled. Every door stood open. Homes, cars, stores, churches, even places that had never had doors before now yawned wide, offering darkness shaped like invitation. Warm air bled into the snow. Christmas lights burned without flicker, their colors too steady, too patient. The bell rang. Once. Not above my door. Everywhere. Inside my skull, inside the snow, inside the hollow places behind my eyes. The figures began to move. They didn't rush. They didn't float. They walked the way tired people walk, carefully, conserving energy, certain they had all the time left in the world. Their feet did not disturb the snow. Their shadows went the wrong direction. I recognized all of them. That was the worst part. Neighbors who'd waved every morning. The mailman who used to bring my mother holiday cards. A boy I'd gone to school with who drowned one summer and was never mentioned again. Faces softened by memory, sharpened by wrongness. They filled the street, the sidewalks, the open doorway of the store. Waiting. I backed away until my spine hit the counter. My hands searched for something solid, something real. "Stop," I said, my voice breaking. "Please." They smiled, not wide, not cruel. Relieved. One of them stepped forward. It wore my father's face. He'd died years ago. Heart attack. Christmas Eve, actually. I'd found him in the living room, lights still on, half-wrapped gift beside his chair. "You always hated this part," he said gently. "When things ended." "You're not him," I whispered. "I'm the part you kept," it replied. "The part you replayed." The others began to speak, not all at once, but in careful overlap. Voices braided together. Familiar tones carrying unfamiliar patience. "You remember us. You called us back. We waited so long." The walls of the store stretched, breathing. Shelves bent inward, aisles lengthening into impossible distance. The floor rippled like disturbed water. I felt my thoughts slow, stretch, lose edges. This is how it happens, I realized. Not with violence. With permission. They showed me memories. Not as flashes, but as rooms I could step into. Christmas mornings. Laughter. Arguments I'd walked away from. Phone calls I never returned. Faces I'd decided not to think about because the pain felt pointless. Every memory glowed. Every forgotten thing reached back. "This is what you wanted," my father's shape said. "A place where nothing leaves." Around us, the town folded inward. Streets twisted. Houses leaned toward each other like conspirators. Time stuttered. Bells ringing, stopping, ringing again without pattern. People stepped out of their homes willingly now. Some crying. Some smiling. Some already hollow-eyed, reflections lagging behind their bodies. "Adam!" Someone screamed. Samir stumbled through the crowd, blood running from his nose, his eyes wild. "Don't listen," he shouted. "They only have what you give them." A figure reached out and touched his shoulder. Samir collapsed mid-step, folding inward like paper soaked through. His body didn't hit the ground. It wasn't there anymore. His voice lingered half a second longer than it should have. The figures turned back to me. "You see," they whispered. "So much quieter this way." I screamed. Not words. Just sound. The bell rang again. Louder. And the reflections stepped out. From windows. From mirrors. From the polished metal of the counter. From me. It was perfect. Every detail right. The same scar on the chin. The same tired eyes. The same fear, only steadier. Calmer. It smiled with my mouth. "You did well," it said. "You held on." I shook my head violently. "No, I didn't. I let go. I moved on." The reflection tilted its head. Curious. "Did you?" it asked. Behind it, the figures drew closer. The air thickened with memory, with the weight of too many yesterdays pressing down at once. The store dissolved. The town dissolved. We stood in a vast white space filled with doors. Thousands of them, each marked with a name, a date, a moment. "These are ours," the voices said. "These are what you keep." I felt myself thinning, stretching between choices. Stay and nothing would ever hurt again. Leave and forget them. Truly forget. Not suppress. Not bury. Erase. "I don't want this," I whispered. My reflection stepped closer, eyes soft. "You already chose." I thought of my mother's last unanswered call, of my father's chair, of the girl barefoot in the snow, and I understood. They weren't taking memories. They were becoming them, replacing the living with the remembered. "Then take me," I said suddenly. "Just me." Silence rippled through the white space. The figures leaned in. My reflection frowned, for the first time uncertain. "One place," I continued, voice shaking but steady. "One anchor. Let the rest go." The bell rang once more. The sound cracked something. Doors began to slam shut, one by one, names fading, dates blurring. The figures screamed, not in pain, but in loss. "You promised," they hissed. "I remembered," I said. That was the mistake. The white space collapsed inward. Darkness rushed back. The town snapped into place like a broken bone set wrong. I was alone in the store. The bell was still. The lights dimmed. Snow fell normally again. But when I looked into the glass, my reflection didn't move. It watched me, smiling. And somewhere deep beneath the town, something settled in. Satisfied. Because Christmas was over. And I was still here. For now. The morning after, the town seemed smaller. Not physically. Not really. But the streets, the houses, the empty lots felt hollow, stretched thin like a photograph someone had tugged at the edges. The snow lay thick, untouched, except where the wind had scoured a path, curving oddly, as if avoiding something it dared not touch. I walked through the streets, avoiding reflections. Mirrors, windows, anything glass or polished. Every surface was a reminder of the night before, a warning that the moment I looked too closely, it could all return. I passed homes where the lights had burned out overnight, chimneys silent, doors closed but unlatched. The faint smell of ash lingered in the air, but no smoke rose. People were scarce. Those who remained moved like shadows of themselves. Faces pale, eyes distant. Conversation was minimal, clipped, careful. Every word seemed chosen to avoid summoning memory too strongly, as though they feared speaking aloud what had nearly consumed the town. I tried calling my mother again. The line rang endlessly. No answer. Not even the soft click of a voicemail box. The store was empty when I returned, shelves rearranged just slightly, as if someone, or something, had walked between them and left invisible footprints. I stayed awake most of that day, watching the door, checking windows, listening to the faint sounds of wind or silence. It was hard to tell which was which. Every shadow felt like a presence, every reflection like an observer waiting for a misstep. That night, Christmas Eve, I finally accepted the quiet. The bell had stopped. The figures had receded, or at least their full forms had. But I knew better. They were still there in the corners, in the mirrors, in the edges of thought. I lit a single candle and sat by the counter. The flame trembled in the draft, casting long, thin shadows across the floor. Outside, snow fell steadily, muffling the world. The streets were empty. The town breathed with a slow, careful rhythm. I thought about those I had seen. Neighbors, friends, strangers, my own family. Their faces pressed into memory. Their voices lingering in my mind, repeating lines I had long forgotten. We waited so long, You remembered. And I understood. Christmas was never meant to be joyous. Not really. It was a mirror. A reckoning. A reminder that some things we call forgotten are only hidden, waiting for the moment we look back to clearly. I tried to speak aloud to break the tension. "It's over," I whispered. "It's gone." But the candle flickered violently, casting the flame across the walls in impossible angles. For a heartbeat, I thought I saw someone standing behind me. A familiar face, smiling. I spun around, nothing. Only the faint impression of breath, colder than the winter air. I went home, or what had become home. The streets curved unnaturally as I walked. The houses, once comforting, now seemed taller, leaning inward, watching. Every shadow lingered longer than it should. I slept lightly, one eye open, listening to sounds that might not exist. In the days after, the town remained quiet. The missing were not spoken of. Doors stayed closed. People avoided mirrors and windows, pretending nothing unusual had ever happened. But for me, the change was permanent. Every reflection I avoided, every quiet corner I passed, every distant chime in the snow carried the weight of what I had seen. The memories remained, stubborn and patient, pressing at the edges of consciousness. I had survived, but survival was thin and brittle. Sometimes, late at night, I hear the faint ringing of a bell. Not a clear tone, not loud enough to be measured. Just a sound in the distance, behind walls, beneath the ground. A memory that insists on being remembered. I've tried to tell myself it's imagination. That fear has a way of shaping reality. But the footprints still appear in my dreams. Long, uneven, stopping just short of where I stand. And sometimes, when the candlelight flickers, I swear I see movement in the glass. I am careful now. Careful with what I remember. Careful with what I forget. I do not leave the store after dark. I do not invite reflection. I do not speak of the missing, because the moment you see them and truly see them, they see you too. And some part of you, your reflection, your memory, your very essence, never leaves. The town sleeps quietly beneath the snow, a shell of what it once was. Lights flicker in empty windows. Doors remain locked. Streets are silent. But the presence never fully fades. It waits, patient, inevitable. And as I stand behind the counter, candlelight trembling across the floor, I understand the cruelest truth. Survival is not freedom. Survival is being left to watch. Alone, hollow, aware. The bell has not rung for a while. But I know it will one day when someone else looks too closely, remembers too much, and opens the doors we left closed. Christmas comes. They always come. And we are waiting.